it's Reagan and welcome back to another video. Today I am doing a very exciting fall book haul. I have some super incredible titles to talk through today that'll be perfect for the upcoming season. As you guys know, I love fall so much. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in, because the first section of books I'm actually going to be talking about are actually a bunch of titles from Book of the Month. Specifically, I'm actually working with Book of the Month, which I'm so honored to say, to chat about their Book of the Month YA subscription service. If you guys aren't aware or familiar, I have been a huge fan of the Book of the Month service for years. I have been a paying subscriber for years. I love this service so much. If you guys are not familiar, Book of the Month is an incredible subscription service, and essentially how it works is both the original and the YA version of the service, they basically curate 5 titles across a variety of genres every single month, give really incredible blurbs and reason why they have been chosen, and basically for $14.99 you're able to pick one book and get it sent directly to you. It's always a hardcover, it's always a new release, and just for $9.99 more you can continue to add other books to your box. I generally do that because I always want more than just one. I cannot say no because the selections are always so incredible. A couple other bonuses are, if you aren't interested in any titles that month, you can really easily skip and just wait for the next month. There's no penalties for that. And if you guys have never used the service before, you can get your first month for $9.99, and I actually have a code which I'll leave right here and down below if you're interested in signing up and checking it out. Again, this is a service that I love so much. I have been using for years. I think it's such a great way to discover new types of books and genres that you don't generally read as often. I always find new novels that I've never even heard of, both in the original Book of the Month and the YA version, which I think is just so much fun. That being said, I have all the books today that are available for the October box, so I'm super excited to show them off for you because they're all super strong. Their selections for this month are just top notch. So let's just dive right in. The first book I'm going to talk about is The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. This is a highly anticipated novel for me, and I'm so pumped about it because it's bringing back the angsty YA vampire story we have all been wanting since the end of the Twilight. This is set in 1872 in New Orleans, and it basically follows our main character who has left Paris to find herself a new life, and she's kind of dropped in the center of this very vibrant city full of hustle and bustle. I mean, talk about a great city to set a vampire novel in, New Orleans. And essentially what occurs, I'm pretty sure she meets some mysterious people, begins to be a part of some mysterious crowds, and turns out there's vampires. I am so pumped. Early buzz about this book has been so strong. I hope it's so entertaining and full of all the ambiance I want it to be. Yeah, I'm super excited about this, and I'm planning to try to read this month actually, so really excited to have this. Next book is another very exciting fantasy title, and that is Fireborn. This is a dragon-centered fantasy story that follows our main character Annie and Lee, who have been best friends for most of their life because they grew up together in the same orphanage. They come from incredibly different backgrounds but are brought together via the same fate. Essentially, this is a fantasy world which was touched by revolution and basically tore down the old ruling regime and allowed kind of the lower classes to rise, which also allowed for Annie and Lee, though coming from an orphanage, to try out for this elite group of fighters called the Dragon Riders, and now they're rising stars within this world and society, but there are rumblings of another revolution and the old regime is trying to like fight back, so war is on the horizon. All sorts of interesting things are occurring. Dragon fantasy always really intrigues me. I'm always looking for like the best of the best, so I'm hoping to really like this, and I also kind of like this Russian Revolution inspired fantasy setting, so I'm hoping this is super good and super pumped to have it to read. Next is another novel I've been highly anticipating, and that is Rainbow Rowell's Wayward Son. This is the second book to the Simon & Snow fantasy novel that we were graced with a few years ago. If you guys aren't familiar, this is basically a really Harry Potter inspired story, and essentially its creation lived in one of Rainbow Rowell's other novels, Fangirl, where that main character wrote fan fiction for this Harry Potter inspired world. That book and that story became so popular that Rainbow Rowell decided to write the actual fantasy story, which is just incredible. So we follow 2 boys, Simon and Baz, as they kind of encounter magic and monsters and love, and it's so cute, it's so funny, it has wonderful writing, and I cannot wait to see how the second book unfurls. I love them so much. Simon and Baz for life. I mean, just look at them on the cover. How could you not root for them? I root for them. Next book I have is The Fountains of Silence by REaaddddd. REaaddddd is one of my favorite authors. She's an incredible writer and is definitely known for the dark, harrowing historical fictions that she tends to write that are very much inspired by true events. This particular story is set in 1957 in Spain, and this is basically set on the backdrop of a lot of the consequences of the Spanish Civil War. We follow a multitude of different characters from different classes within the society, but ultimately kind of how their lives collide, and a lot of the dark consequences of the past and the war kind of catching up for these characters in a variety of different ways. I'm sure this will have love, loss, and lots of tears from my eyeballs, but I'm sure it's beautiful. I'm really excited to have it on hand. I love REaaddddd, so this I'm sure is going to be amazing. And the last book I have from my YA Book of the Month box is Full Disclosure, which is a more serious YA contemporary novel selection. This follows our main character Simone, who's starting over at a new school because this time things are going to be different for her. This time around she's making friends, she's flirting with boys, and she's even the student director of an upcoming play and musical. However, she also kind of has to confront a secret that she's kind of keeping from those around her, and that is that she's HIV positive, and especially as she starts to get more serious, boy at her school, and she's confronted with a new type of longing. She's not quite sure how to say the words she wants to, especially because the last time it nearly crushed her. This sounds like a very serious but a very poignant YA contemporary story about a girl kind of just trying to make her way through this world. It sounds incredibly powerful. I'm really excited to have a copy on hand. Alrighty, so those are all the books I got in the YA Book of the Month box this month. Again, I will have a code down below to get your first box for $9.99 if you guys are interested. But now moving on to the rest of the books in this book haul. The first one is hilariously still from Book of the Month, and I actually got it from the regular Book of the Month box, and that is Bringing Down the Duke. And I am so excited about this novel. This is a historical romance style novel that I'm hoping is just full of rogues and misunderstanding and like ridiculous eye contact made across the parlor or library or something. It just sounds great. But yeah, the tagline is basically a daring Oxford rebel takes on a powerful duke in a love story that threatens to upend the British social order. It's set in England in 1979. Again, I just hope this is bawdy and entertaining and delicious. I'm watching so much Downton Abbey right now, so I'm hoping this has kind of that sort of dramatic element thrown in it at its center. But yeah, we'll report back. Pumped to have this. Cannot wait to read. Top of the list. Next book I have to show off is Rick Riordan, Trials of Apollo, The Tyrants' Tomb. This is the fourth book to the Trials of Apollo series, which you guys know I'm a huge fan of. This is a Rick Riordan series that basically follows the god Apollo. In the beginning of the first one, he was cast down to the mortal world and turned into a mortal without all of his powers to use at his behest, and he's kind of sent on a quest to try to save the world. Along the way, he makes a bunch of friends, he has some side characters that you also fall in love with, and we also encounter a lot of old faves within this story as well. Apollo is also super arrogant because while he might have lost his godly powers, he has not lost his godly ego, and it just makes for a hilarious, rowling good time adventure. So I'm really excited to check out this fourth book. I've loved the first three, so obviously I had to get this one to add to my collection. And the next book I have to show off is The Lies of Locke Lamora. I am currently reading this right now and loving it so much. In fact, because I loved it, I decided to add it to my collection because I was initially just renting it from the library. So I picked up this paperback. But this is an epic fantasy story that we follow our main character Locke, who's basically a very renowned thief. He's really good at creating very interesting and dramatic scenarios to essentially steal a bunch of money from rich people. This is a story told during two timelines. One is when Locke is an adult and he's kind of pulling off a really big heist, and two, when Locke is a child and just kind of learning the ropes of being a thief. It's super interesting, very clever, hilarious dialogue, super witty. Cannot wait to finish it and read the rest of the books in this series. But yeah, I picked this up to add to my collection because duh. And the very last book I have to show off is The Assassin's Apprentice by Rowell Hobb, which is the first book to a series so many people have been recommending to me since like the beginning of my YouTube career. This is a series my brother has read and loved, and I'm just hoping I love it so much as well. Also, it's a super long series. There's so many books, so it's like jumping into a world of endless opportunity, if you will. But this is basically following an assassin's apprentice. I think it's just a young boy going to a new kingdom, learning how to be a spy and an assassin. I don't really know much more than that. I don't know if I want to know much more than that, but I'm really excited to kind of be introduced to Robb and Hobb's world and hopefully fall in love with all of our characters and all of our books. And maybe one day, you never know, I'll just have a full shelf of Robb and Hobb, because that is very possible because there are so many of them. Alrighty guys, so that is my fall book haul. Let me know down below some books you've picked up recently, as I would love to know, and I'll see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!